Your Partner in Success Radio is a free business podcast with host Denise Griffitts. It's all about great stories, conversation, and context to help you move your business and life forward with actionable tips and advice from her guest experts. To listen and subscribe, just find us on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you consume your podcasts.
Welcome to Your Partner in Success Radio. Today, I'm honored to have Bill Zujewski. He is the founder and CEO of GoodLiife LLC. And just so you know, that is GoodLiife, L-I-I-F-E, LLC. But I'm sure you can find it just by asking for GoodLiife in Google. So with over 20 years as a high-tech marketing executive at companies like Oracle and PTC, Bill made a life-changing transition into entrepreneurship. And that was fueled by his passion for intentional living. Write that down. Intentional living and life balance. Now, this episode of Your Partner in Success Radio is sponsored by Cynthia K. She is also known as CK. As the founder of Cynthia K & Company, she leads an award-winning media production firm and stands out as a respected leader in small business innovation. And with more than 35 years of experience, she has dedicated her career to helping entrepreneurs. We're all entrepreneurs here, I promise you. Thrive with clarity and confidence. And CK is not just a trailblazer in her industry. She is also someone I personally admire. So discover more about her exceptional work at cynthiakbiz.com. Now, my guest is the visionary behind the Life by Design system and the ZenScore. It's an app. And these are practical tools that help people score their life satisfaction. And this is important, and track meaningful progress towards purpose-driven goals. We were talking about that in the green room. It's easy to just go, I'll do it later, but not go back and say, did I do it? What's next? He is also the author of What's Your Life Score, a playbook for designing your best life. And his mission is clear: to help people reduce stress, take ownership of their happiness, and create lives designed with intention. You're going to hear that a lot. And I have to tell you, I have that book in front of me now. So get ready for a powerful conversation about living well in today's chaotic world. Welcome to the show, Bill. It's a pleasure to have you back, or have you here, rather. We have been talking several times in the pre-interview and then today in the green room. And it reminded me that your diverse background, from leading high-tech marketing teams at industry giants to founding GoodLife and spearheading practical tools for intentional living, has truly inspired so many. So here's where I'm going to put you in front of the microphone. To kick things off, I would love for listeners to get a sense of who you are beyond the truly impressive resume and the title. So how do you like to show up in the world? What values or qualities do you strive to embody as you move through life and in business?
Yeah, well, thanks, Denise, first of all, for having me. I'm really looking forward to our conversation. My tagline and a lot of my social profiles is father, husband, son, friend, executive. And I put executive last, and I kind of walk the walk. I have 4 kids, all in their 20s. And my entire life, I've tried to maintain that balance of having a successful career, but not at the detriment of my relationships, leisure. In fact, when we get into it, big believer in this concept of a wheel of life, right? Investing in your health, in your home, in your leisure, in your purpose, growth, your relationships, your occupation, wealth, and paying attention to all those areas. So I started off as an engineer, then running marketing for software companies, and now I'm a solopreneur trying to launch, a couple startups.
And I love that. And I love that you put your work last. So many people don't. I was guilty of that for the longest kind of time. And I still do it to some degree because, I'm a highly committed introvert. I'm autodidactic. I need to learn. I'm constantly doing things, and then all of a sudden I'll say, I've got a headache. My back hurts. Well, I didn't take a break. And your book has me going, Denise, sit back, take a breath. Just do. But I have to tell you, Bill, your book isn't just a collection of great insights. It's also, I'm going to just call it, it's a visual treat. the illustrations are beautiful and they really help sell the stories you're sharing. So here's what I wanted to ask you. Was the artistic aspect something that you were intentional about during the creation process?
Yes and no. Obviously, a lot of people learn through imagery and are visual learners. So I knew I wanted to not just spit out a book with pure text, but complement the points and certain key points. And I'll be frank, we live in this world of AI. I have a creative person that works for me, and together, her and I and some AI tools were able to create these wonderful pencil sketches of happiness, joy, frameworks, whatever the point was, whether it's a woman on a Peloton, or friends having lunch together, right? And whatever the point was in that chapter, the illustration tried to drive that home.
And it does. I mean, they are so thoughtfully crafted and they're capturing the emotions and the lessons of the narratives. And thank you for giving me, your cheat sheet. I appreciate that because I'm writing a book. I'm writing several of them right now. 3 of them are just small, get them up on Amazon, but I had no idea how to create those images. So thank you for that. You've taught me something. So let's get back to you because this is important. I want people to know who you are and what this book is about and what you've got to share them. And you mentioned that you're a father of 4, and thank you for doing that. But your life by design system caught my attention. What does that framework look like in practice, and how does it help someone like me shift from living reactively to living with intention?
Yeah. So life by design, it basically, and there's a lot of science and data to back this up, including these engineers at Stanford who basically said, just like you design a product, you can design your life. And that starts with having a vision, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years of all aspects of your life. So that's the key, not just like, where you want to be in terms of wealth, but what do you want to look like? How healthy do you want to be? Where do you want to be living? What part of the world? What does your family look like? What does your home look like? What does your circle of friends look like? Like what happens, and you don't even realize it, a lot of your day to day, week to week, month to month, subliminal kind of decisions are made automatically behind the scenes with alignment of what your vision is for the future. And if you don't have the vision, then you end up just being reactive and kind of random.
And exhausted. It's exhausting.
It is. And then so the framework I came up with, I actually, the engineer in me 20 years ago, we probably all do this, at the end of the year, we evaluate kind of our resolutions that we want for the next year. I actually had this little spreadsheet that I started like 20 years ago, and I had a row for my relationship with my wife, how I did with family, my net worth, my career, my fitness, my health. And I would score myself like 0 to 10. And it would just force me to kind of self-reflect of how I did and where I am and where my scores were low and where did I want to work on. So it was almost like this dashboard that helped me kind of just visualize where I was strong and weak in my life. And that turned into kind of this book and this company.
And good for you. And you just said something about Harvard, and I think you were saying engineer, but I heard Zengineers. Isn't that what you are?
Yeah, no. So there's 2 scores. There's a ZenScore. I use the word Zen because it's how you feel about your life. And that ZenScore is simple questions about how you feel about your fitness and health, how you feel about what your purpose in life, whether you're growing, your relationships. And it takes about a minute to answer those 11 questions. And that's the Zen part, right? Trying to find balance that gets away from all the stress and anxiety in the world and that we have. Like life is hard, right? That's my big vision here, which is, boy, we all can use some help, and maybe this tool can help some people.
Well, absolutely, it can. I was poking around at it over the weekend because I reread the book. I always do before I have a guest come on. And I was like, okay. And I ran over to the app and, I thought, this is fascinating. but then I got distracted. So I've got to figure out a way to get very intentional, going to use that word again, about getting over there and following through, which, listen, I'm a web developer. It happens all the time. We call that, people will just get out. They're leaving. You look at your pages and somebody bounced. There's a lot of bouncing going on. And I did it, and I caught myself doing it going, well, that's not right. So I actually made a big note today on an index card, go back there and spend, and I gave myself 30 minutes, go in there, and I designed that time, and I'm not coming out for 30 minutes or longer if I get really, really stuck in. But you have to get intentional.
You have to. And some people can't do it. And so that's why actually I'm finding out, and this wasn't the intent when I launched the company last year, it was a self-care tool. But now what I'm realizing is a lot of my favorite users love the app as an engagement tool. They're coaches, life coaches, or wealth managers or therapists, and they use it as an engagement tool to actually hold their clients accountable, right? So all of a sudden, here's a life score, take this assessment, figure out your scores. And if you're at a 75, how do we get you to a 90? And if your wealth score is low, how do we get that up, right? It just gives them a framework that's better than kind of a fuzzy how I feel, or maybe just focused on one metric like wealth. Like, here's a balanced life score that I'm finding coaches are using to kind of help keep their clients accountable. Because let's be honest, like fitness trainers, different diet, trainers, like it's hard without a partner a lot of times to hold you accountable.
It is. And, like somebody will say, okay, I'm going to start walking. I want to feel better. I want to lose weight. They'll walk with the dog a couple of times and say, I don't want to do this. But if they have a partner, even if it's hey, I'm calling you at 6:30 in the morning, you go walk your neighborhood, I'm going to go walk my neighborhood, and we're going to tell each other the truth. Did we really do it? I mean, just something that simple can be helpful, because it's hard to do things on your own without a lot of structure and a lot of focus. And let's face it, most of us struggle in all of those areas.
Yeah,
I do.
I know. No, agreed. Now, I've been lucky to have a life partner that holds me accountable. And then I also hold my 4 kids accountable. So although I'm not a professional life coach, I don't mind coaching my kids.
I bet. Well, your tagline is "Get Good at Life." What does that mean to you? How did that come to be, I guess, is my question.
Yes. So this is where I'm a little different in the typical life coach approach, who's trying to, address maybe the self-talk or the lack of confidence or some emotional aspect. I'm actually trying to train you on how to do the things that people who have an amazing life do in these 8 areas, right? So and maybe some argue it's impossible to have like a manual for life, but there are things that people who are successful in these areas do that are proven, right? So like take wealth, for example. Like I documented 14 best practices, pay off your credit card every month, save 10%, have a retirement account, have a budget, avoid ego-driven kind of, spending on stuff that is, too expensive for you, right? So there are practices. I did the same for health. I did the same for relationships, right? Be a good listener, go out to dinner, support certain friends. Like there are things you have to do to invest in relationships. So that's the goal here, which is trying to give people a guide, instructions, a reminder of here's the habits you need. And I don't know if we'll have time to get into it in these 8 areas, right? So help grow is this mnemonic, and it stands for the 8 categories. H is for health. E is for your environment, really your home environment. L is for leisure. P is for purpose. G for growth. R for relationships. O for occupation, and W for wealth. It's been around for hundreds of years. It's the wheel of life, and it's all the areas you should be paying attention to have a happy, healthy, fulfilling life.
That's in chapter 2. And right now, Bill, I'm on page 32, what balance looks like, because balance seems to be something that a lot of people struggle with. We get busy, we get distracted, we get mad. We have all these emotions swirling around. Then we go to bed mad and upset. Don't know what the heck we did all day. Been there, done it. But this page starts out with what balance looks like. And this grabbed me and I put a little sticky note next to it. Balance is about investing in the areas that matter most to you. It doesn't mean that every aspect of life gets equal attention at all times. Instead, it's about aligning your time, energy, and focus, there's that word again, with your values and your priorities. And then you ask 4 questions, and they're important. So page 32, y'all.
Yeah. So your priorities in life, your purpose in life, all those things change and where you invest your time as different stages of your life. So when you're young and in your 20s, there's nothing wrong with investing a little bit more in your career. Obviously, you need to establish excellence in something that allows you to earn a living, give back to the world, right? So that may be a time where, okay, you might have, you've got to maintain some level of friendships, of course. But maybe your leisure score is not, 4 weeks of vacation and weekends, every weekend off. Maybe you're working a little here and there. But then maybe as you move on in life and you find a life partner and you start raising a family, your priorities shift to them, right? And all of a sudden, the career takes a back seat and your family takes a front seat. And now in my stage, where I'm in my 50s, I'm not ready for retirement. I don't want to retire. I want to help young people and I want to help give back to the world. So all of a sudden, my circle of life has moved more towards purpose and growth and those kinds of aspects. So yeah, paying attention to being aware of those slices is super important, but there's nothing wrong with coming up with your own version of what balance is.
And having that plan. You stress that a lot in the book, having a plan. And so many people, myself included, when I was younger and stupider last week. But, you don't always have a plan for something that's going to happen. You don't. You just think, oh, life is good. I'm going to go do my business, and, take a shower, go to bed. It's not that easy. You do have to have a plan. And without one, you just kind of ramble around and go, well, that didn't work out so well. Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, no,
That's not helpful.
no, it's not helpful. I mean, most of us are more reactive than proactive. One of the cautions I've given my kids is, big location transfers or, job transfers or new jobs that move you to a different part of the world. It sounds intriguing, but if your vision for your life is to be around your friends and family that you've made in the state you live in, and then go out and live in a certain part of that state because you love the weather and all that, stick to that vision, right? Don't get distracted by, a short-term 10% jump or something that may actually throw a curveball and take you to another part of the world and where you're unhappy, and then it's hard to get back, right? So you have to have, a vision for all these aspects.
Right. And then flip that around. Maybe you don't want to be stuck in where I am. I like it here, but Southwest Louisiana, it's hurricane season. We have mud. I call it the mud season. People say, well, how can you live there? Well, I like it here, but, not everybody would.
Yes, just the opposite. If you find yourself, feeling like you're stuck in your location,
right,
and you're in a place that's cold and you can't stand the cold, then yeah, maybe when you're young, go find a school in the South, start to build your network of friends when you're young in a different part of the world. So my point is not that one answer is right or wrong, just that you do it intentionally and not reactively.
Exactly. And instead of just going, well, that was fun, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow? That's not the best way to go to sleep. It really isn't. So let's talk about the tools inside your app, things like journaling, gratitude tracking. That's a big one for me. Stress check-ins. Why are these small daily habits so critical to building a life with purpose? And I already know the answer, but share it with our audience if you would.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, a lot of people journal, but most people don't. And it's such a good way to just pause and be grateful. That gratefulness gives you perspective of what's important in life, and helps address kind of a lot of the negative self-talk that we all have to deal with, right? But the other thing is that life stressors tool that I used to call it the Blue Monday tool. I don't know if you've heard that expression, but it's
No.
so you wake up on a Monday morning, and if you hate your job and you're overwhelmed with what's ahead of you, maybe for the week, it's Monday, and you got now, and your weekend maybe was amazing, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna miss the weekend. You just feel down, right? And you're blue, and maybe you're struggling to get out of bed, or maybe it's a day in the middle of the week, anytime where you're just like, you don't have the energy or drive, something's off, you're anxious. Like what I did in the tool is I gave a list of the like 40 most common reasons that people kind of are, stuck or down, whether it's like, I feel fat or out of shape. I feel like I'm behind on my bills. I just got in an argument with someone, and but what you're trying to do when you go through that life stressors list is you're just trying to understand what your gut and heart and body's telling you, right? You're down, you're unmotivated, and just pausing and going through that list will try to get you to that root cause. And most of the time, the stress is caused by having something and not doing anything about it. But once you find out what it is and you start taking action towards fixing it, the stress starts to go away quickly because you feel like, okay, I got it and I'm doing something about it.
Exactly. And you're using the word feel a bit, and I wrote that down because I found out over many years of trying to figure out why I'm cranky some days. And I can get very cranky. And sometimes I just go with it and have a good time with it. I'm not around other people. I can kick the tire if I want to. But other times I think, if I'm feeling this, where is it coming from? And I ask this all the time, is this really true? And that makes me sit down with it and go, well, of course it's not true, but I have to go through the work.
Yeah, no, Denise, it's such a great observation. Not many people make it to this point that they don't actually realize that some of these random thoughts that pop up are actually just just that, random. And it might be your ego.
Oh yeah, it always is.
Always is, right? So you have to keep that in check, and you have to catch those negative thoughts and say, wait, is that really true? Am I really that bad? Or am I really that stuck? Or, and so sometimes you have to take that self-talk, and that's what mindfulness does, right? Mindfulness doesn't mean no thoughts. Mindfulness means just aware of what's going on with your mind and thoughts. And I'm a believer that there's multiple yous, by the way, that there's definitely your brain that's focused on logic and decision making. But then there's that heart part of you that's super emotional, that makes you feel some way. And then there's your gut, and maybe, that stress of something, that you're afraid of that's happening in your gut. So your body is not just your thoughts. It's giving you all kinds of signals that are hints to, something maybe being off.
No kidding. And let's not forget about our subconscious, because that's where everything is. Everything is in there. And I do this all the time. There's a couple things that I do that I don't know. I didn't teach them to myself. I've just always done it. But I will take my showers hot enough to steam broccoli. Seriously, it's a good thing I have cathedral ceilings, because otherwise the paint would be peeled off of those walls. But once I relax, and, I may go take a really hot shower a couple of times a day if something is really, really got me stuck. And once I start to relax and I can feel the stress in my shoulders relaxing, all of a sudden I start getting these amazing downloads. I don't know if it's God, spirit, subconscious. I don't know where it's coming from. I don't ask. But if I hear, we all have that internal voice that we're listening to. And if I hear, okay, I'm going to do this, that's ego. I don't do anything with it. But I have to tell you, I take bathtub crayons in the shower with me. And when these downloads start, and they're brilliant, I scribble all over the walls. In fact, I've been working on a website that's just about killed me for the last couple of weeks. And I've been writing code literally in the shower. I've been scribbling code on the shower walls. It's
No,
embarrassing.
no, but if you that's not some of the point here, which is if you can free your mind of all these worries and anxiety and things that are not productive, and actually all of a sudden use that energy and that mind power for creativity and brand new things, right?
Right.
Yeah. By the way, I love a lot of people are just like you. A shower for two things on the shower. First of all, there's a life hack that I have that I tend to do most mornings, and it's not easy, but I start with a cold shower, not ice cold shower, but just for the first 30 seconds. And one, it wakes me up, but two, it just reminds me. Then I turn it up to the hot steaming shower. Oh my God. I'm so lucky that I have actually a place I call home where I can take that relaxing hot shower every day and be grateful for the start of my day.
Exactly. Same thing.
Yeah.
But when I'm leaving the showers, when I turn it to cold.
Yep. Yeah. So,
And that's not always a good thing in the winter, by the way, but still I do it anyway. And the other thing I do is I'm very aware of my subconscious, and sleeping I'm not very good at it. Never have been. I finally figured out that it cuts into my reading time, so I don't like to sleep all that much. But when I can tell I'm just about to drop off to sleep because my iPad will hit me in the nose because I read myself to sleep. And I will say, okay, and I wake myself up sufficiently to say my prayers out loud because somebody's listening. Even if it's just you, somebody is listening. And then I will tell my subconscious, listen, I've got this issue with this code, all this code. I've written so much code, I could have wallpapered the bathroom with it. But I'm having an issue with this. I can't seem to work it out. I need a response. Can you help me with this code? And I'm telling you, Bill, 3:18 in the morning, doesn't matter what time I went to sleep. 3:18 without fail, I wake up, I write it down, and maybe I go back to sleep. Maybe I don't. But my subconscious is listening and it's delivering.
Yeah, no, it's a great observation. There's actually some life hacks around telling your subconscious to work on something overnight. Now, I actually didn't do this one. I read it recently, and I thought it was funny, but at the same time, maybe it's true.
It works.
Someone suggested, think of your problem and pour it into a glass. Put a glass of water in front of you before you go to bed, and then think of the problem being in that glass, and then drink the glass of water, and then you'll come up at the next morning with a solution to the problem. And I don't do it that literally or physically, but I do try to get my mind to focus on something towards the end of the night that I want to get done this week or tomorrow. And sure enough, yeah, you wake up 4 a.m. I wake up 5 a.m. sometimes and go right to my little stickies and write down some thoughts that I had overnight. So yeah, your mind is there working.
It is. And you have to pay attention to it, and you have to stop filling it with garbage, or as we say in the Deep South, garbage. Don't do it. Just stay focused. And that is difficult to do. So let's go back to your tools, because you spent a lot of time on these. When did you start working with these tools? You went out of corporate. Did you go directly into what you're doing now? What was the transition?
Yeah. So, about 10 years ago, I was working in a pretty hot startup in Toronto, and I was not heeding my own advice. I was waking up at 4 a.m. every other Monday morning, and flying to Toronto and flying back for 3 years almost. And it started to grind on me a little. I got a lot of good stuff done there, and the company started doing really well, but it's something was missing. And I just happened to be having dinner with an old friend where we were sales partners. I was his sales engineer, and he mentioned this Green Business Bureau asset. They had struggled, and he was going to a company that determine whether a company was green or not, but he was going to try to create an online version of it. And I said, and he was only him and one other founder. I said, oh, I love that. I'm a marketing person. Green Business Bureau sounds like an official brand. I think you're onto something. So I left that corporate job. I was the third employee there. We got it to 3,000 small businesses, certifying their business to be green. We sold the company. And I was still the third person there, not the first two. They were working on it. And I'm like, you know what? I think I can do this on my own. And I have this concept. So the concept, by the way, we had a scorecard for how green you were, just like I have this life scorecard. I took this concept of a scorecard from there where you have categories around lighting and energy and water usage and plastic. And it gave you a score for how sustainable and green your business was. And then I realized, I had this spreadsheet I did for myself, and that this notion of a scorecard, businesses have a dashboard and scorecard. Why can't life have a scorecard? So that's how I kind of, transitioned from that green business scorecard to this life scorecard. And people enjoyed it in small business. And I said, let's see if coaches and individuals, and who knows, I may take this to companies, where heads of people may want to create a balanced life culture in their corporations and give this tool to all their employees to help them, have a more balanced life. And a happier, balanced employee is probably a more productive employee.
I think that's a terrific idea. Start now. You ought to do that. Start today.
Yes.
I would love to see you do that. I think we do. Listen, as I've mentioned earlier, we get busy, we get a little off balance. I've got this to do. We get a little panicky, and then nothing really gets done. But we need to have that scorecard. And I keep writing that down, scorecard. And I started scoring myself when I went to the book, the first time, and I went, oh, I suck in this area. That was disheartening, but now I know what to do to pay attention and fix it.
That's exactly right. And I don't know, I'm kicking off in a couple of weeks a young men's club. And so I'm going to do some team coaching of, young professionals. And I am going to kind of have them go through that score, but they're gamers and they're gamblers and the whole thing of points and bonus and get to this level. So I don't know. I'm hoping it's going to kind of resonate with kind of their mentality these days. Hey, I have two scores, how you feel and how you're doing. And the how you're doing, your life score is like, anywhere from hundreds to up to 1,000. If they're at 500, they may want to figure out, how do I get my, life score to 850, and create a plan, so almost gamify life a little bit for that.
So they're going to be test subjects, whether they know it or not.
They are. They kind of know it because it's my first, and I'm giving away this workshop to them. And I want to create a product, a system that people love, right? I don't want to sell and market something that isn't truly, truly useful and valuable. And there's no better way than to test drive it I'm hoping to get 10 to 20 young men for, 4 sessions over 4 weeks and see how it goes.
Well, let me know. Keep me posted on that. One thing that I've noticed when you're selling something, you're a marketer, I'm a marketer, you have to KISS, keep it simple, stupid, because we are distracted. Focus is difficult, but getting more difficult for so many people for so many reasons. And it has to be something that grabs us by the throat and they realize, I want to do this, but it has to be simple.
Yeah. Even, I know the engineer in me says, oh my gosh, this is pretty simple, but even 8 categories, people struggle with remembering those 8 categories. So I'm trying to even create, those mental shortcuts like help grow mnemonic, for them to go through those 8 letters. I've been doing a lot of Instagram these days. Of course, that's the world we live in, right? You have to be kind of authentic and transparent and trusted, actually.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. People will always buy from people they know, like, and trust and feel comfortable with.
Yeah. I mean, when I started the company, my old mindset was, I'll be the CEO behind the scenes and the GoodLiife brand will speak for itself. And then I realized, no, that's not.
Nope.
No, there's a person, there are people behind a company. Buyers want to know who the people are behind the company. So here I am doing a podcast with Denise Griffitts for a bunch of reasons, but one of them is just to get people to know me better.
And you need to be on more podcasts. In fact, I'm going to introduce you to some of my podcast buddies that I think you'd be great for. And you didn't even ask, but I'm doing it anyway. But
Pause, right?
it is.
Get good at life. Yeah.
And the book is wonderful. I mean, I'm just so in love with this book. It's got a beautiful cover. Those illustrations in it are just, I keep opening up going, okay, that's just clever. But when I look at the illustration, I know exactly what the topic's about.
No, thanks.
It's really easy to tell. So there's an art to life on top of everything else. Storytelling is part of it. Being kind and compassionate and understanding that you can be empathetic without giving the whole house away. There's just so much that we have to learn about ourselves and how we show up in the world. And it's astonishing what we don't know. We don't know what we don't know, mostly about ourselves, to be honest.
Yeah, no. And that's why I consider myself, and I know we talked in the green room about this, just being a consumer of information, right? Lifelong learners. And I've been fortunate enough to have my 4 kids kind of instill that in them. If there's something that pops up, a person, a question or answer, we all race to find the answer because we all just thrive on learning more. It's like just part of our DNA.
And there's nothing wrong with healthy competition.
No.
The person you should be in competition with is you.
Yes. No, that's a great point. You want to create a better version of yourself, right? And not compare yourself to others.
Yeah. Exactly. So in your experience, and I have to ask this, what tends to get in people's way when they're trying to create balance and clarity in their lives? I mean, for ego, we talked about that. How do you recommend they move once they identify those blocks? Everybody write that down, identify them. How do you recommend that they move past those blocks?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of blockers in life for sure, whether it's fear, anxiety, procrastination, imposter. So you name all these blockers. There's mental blockers. There's also physical blockers, but there's also a lot of times just a guiding principle that may be off. I'll give you a great one, the wealth. Like that is one mistake that, and it's hard to convince people otherwise, that you could have a happy life without being wealthy. But here's a story for you. And so I grew up, my parents were born in Poland. They came over. I was the firstborn here. And I didn't know it until I was like in my 30s, but my father was working, Saturday mornings. We were living paycheck to paycheck. He literally didn't know every month whether, he was going to have enough from his mechanic job to make the mortgage. It never felt like that, Denise, right? We had our family, every Sunday was over, friends. We did things together. Like life was happy. Yet behind the scenes, my father was like, just working hard to create that, atmosphere for us. And he was never wealthy, but, he raised 5 kids. They all went to college. Now they've got, 30 grandkids because all of us have had, great and great grandkids. So, sometimes the over focus on wealth and not focusing on your family relationships, is a bad guiding principle.
And that's why it was so important to you to make sure that family life and paying attention to your children, your family, your friends was first.
Yeah. And by the way, it's all related. That spills over. An unhappy home life, family life, partner life, is going to affect your performance in work. It's going to impact your health. It's going to impact, your ability to relax and your leisure time. Like all these things are interrelated. Like one or two bad areas, that you don't pay attention will start to spill over. If you're not healthy, you're not going to, and start there, of course, then all the other things are not going to happen for you if you just have to, you're checking yourself into the hospital. So, I mean, that's why you need this system or framework, right? So you can pay attention to all these things and not forget about all these other things.
Exactly. But I love your story about your father because clearly that was carried down through you and now through, all of your family members. So that's a family legacy, whether he intended it or not.
Yeah. Now, some of the reason I still work hard is he was a great role model and he didn't complain about working hard. He just accepted it. And I tried to, instill that mindset, and all the people around me. Actually, I'll give you a little life hack about happiness that I believe in wholeheartedly, which is that, when you set goals and then you make progress towards goals, whether they're daily, weekly, monthly, or whatever, you feel so much better. I know there were days where I would go to bed and I'm like, oh my God, I wasted a whole day. I watched, TV, scrolled, slept, and like, what did I do? I felt so bad. I felt unhappy because I just wasted a day. But when I have days where I've made progress on something, whether it's my job or checking in with a friend, like those days and weeks where I'm making progress, I just feel better and happier. And so to me, progress is like one of the best anchors to happiness, just making progress.
Absolutely. And I know you hear this. I hear it a lot. Oh, I'm having a bad day. I get kind of curious at that moment. It's like, really? Is it a bad day the whole day? Or was it just 15 minutes where you wanted to go outside, kick the tires, and now you're fine? What is a bad day? Unless you're in a war zone, it's not really a bad day. Get over yourself.
Yeah, no, sometimes you need perspective. Exactly. Again, that's the negative self-talk where you have to pause and realize, is it really that bad of a day?
Yeah, is that real? Is it really real? I think that was Carol Mize that said that, but is it real? Is it really real? And I ask myself all the time.
My other pet peeve on excuses that people have is, that's just not me. Like, what do you mean that's not you?
What does that mean?
Yeah, like,
You did it. You said it. What the heck? Who was it? Your alter ego? Is there somebody standing behind you?
yeah, I don't like to exercise. I'm like, well, you just created that thought. I mean, maybe that was the old you. That doesn't have to be you moving forward, right? At any point you can change who you are and who you want to be. So, when people kind of give that excuse that, they've been created in a certain way and that's not who they are, then I kind of call BS on them sometimes and say, well,
Oh, yeah. I definitely call you. And I've done it to myself. It's like, Denise, that is just baloney. You're just trying to get out of walking the dog.
yeah.
And she'll look at me and go, really? Are you having that thought? No, get your leash and off we go. But sometimes I have to I don't want to go out and walk in the rain. Well, she does. So off we go.
You could trick your mind though to say, oh, you know what? I'm going to go walk the dog and go cut the grass. And that's going to be a nice 30-minute workout where I get my steps in. Right?
Hey, yeah, you're shifting it around.
In your mindset.
Yeah.
Mindset shift, right?
And I have to do that a lot. I'll stick my head in the refrigerator just to kind of reset. I'm a nerd. Yeah, and you'll always say, did you turn it on? Turn it back on? Talking about your computer. Well, if I'm having a moment of lunacy, whatever it is, and they happen a lot, I go stick my head in the fridge because it resets. I've chilled out. I'm not thinking about a darn thing until the door starts, buzzing. Okay, and then I can come back. I'm refreshed. I may go outside. walk with the dog. I may go lean against a tree. That's healthy for you, by the way. It gives you that time to just relax and, tap back into your creativity. And then I come back here and I look at these monitors. I go, I've got it. You're mine. And off I go.
Yeah.
So
No, you're right. I do the same thing. I by nature, now we all have some natural part, and whether it's in our genes or we just inherit it or learn it by our family around us when we're very, very young. But I'm super anxious and a worry wart, right? When I was a kid, we're going to run out of gas.
oh,
The water's getting too deep, and sometimes, I still to this day have to catch myself. Oh my gosh, there goes your worry wart. There goes the anxious you again, making up things that are probably never going to happen, creating worry for no reason other than it's, you're making it up. So you have to catch yourself when those kind of things happen.
well, that's like having the conversations that you don't want to have. About a year ago, I had to fire a client and I got rid of her early. I mean, I had to. She was driving me absolutely insane. And I frankly didn't like her very much at the end. And I was having these conversations in my head that were just awful. And they were hurting my stomach. And in the end, I just said, look, this isn't working out. I'm cutting the contract short. She started to argue. I said, no, there's no more conversation. This is what's going to happen. And that was it.
Yeah.
But I had these lengthy conversations with myself that had me just going, oh, hell. It was ugly.
No, I know. I need the money, or I need the business. I need or they need me. It's hard. But one of the reasons I left the corporate world and started working in terms of having my own companies was being at this point in my life, I don't want to put up with like that nastiness or anger or, with these people. So I get to choose who works for me or with me. And if they're not kind people, and if I can't see them as friends during the work hours, you're not coming to work for my company. Like maybe it's not a family business, but it should feel like we're all in this together and we're all supporting each other. And I definitely, it's funny, when I was in corporate world, there was always customer first, customer's always right. And I tend to lean more towards employee first, like, and the employees, if we're putting them first, we're going to create a great company together, and that will come after.
Exactly. And I treat my podcast the same way. And I've rarely had to turn anyone away. But if I don't like you, I'm not spending an hour with you.
Well, I'm glad I passed that criteria.
Oh, yeah, you did. That was easy. Finally, what's coming up next for GoodLiife? Anything exciting that you can share?
Yeah, no. Well, the one thing I am getting into is some coaching myself. So not just giving back with software, but actually my time. So that's one thing. The other thing is a version of this is coming out for collaborating with clients, so you can basically see each other's scores if you want to share them with your coach or mentor, see each other's goals, create goals for each other, create grateful entries. So that collaboration piece to my software is probably a good feature for those who want to maybe use it in their profession. So those are the two big things. One other thing is reporting's coming out. So people want to see their scores week to week or month to month, and where was I 6 months ago on this metric, right? And how has it changed from week to week and month to month, and why did it change here? So putting some analytics into the app as well is where we're going.
Well, be sure to keep me posted. And the reason I was asked my guests to stay in touch with me, because you have my phone number, you have my email, and anything that's coming out that is pertinent to this conversation, shoot me a note. And that gives me an excuse to go, oh, hey, did you guys hear this one? And I can put you back out there. So I am happy to share anything you've got coming up.
No, thank you, Denise. So yeah, I'll share that young men's, I have a little 2-page brochure for that, and you can share it with any young people, young men. I'm doing it I'm going to have my sisters actually also partner with me in GoodLiife, and she's going to have the young women's club. And there's something there. Obviously men and women are a little different. I think I've noticed in mixed groups, some of the men tend to hold back on their personal stuff. And their problems might be a little different around whether it's gaming or gambling or dating. So I am starting with that little circle of men, and we'll see how that goes.
See, I think that makes sense because we do behave differently when we're, around or near the opposite sex. That's just how it works.
Men are from Mars and women from Venus. I remember.
Yep. Or
Years.
Baton Rouge.
Yeah.
It could be from anywhere. Listen, if a listener remembers just one thing from our conversation today, what do you hope it is?
I hope it's that you can design the life you want, that you can basically come up with where you want to be in all these areas, set goals in those areas, and not just be, reactive to the world, but actually proactive and having an amazing life. And you can create that for yourself.
You can. And I have to ask, and this just popped into my head for no good reason that I know of, but what is so frightening about setting goals?
Yeah. I think fear of maybe failure or just taking the time. I don't know. I'm addicted to goals. I mean, I have 7 goals today with these blocks that I need to get done. And, I get 5 of the 7 checked. I'll feel good. I got a lot done today. So I think it's a great life skill, core competency that everyone should use. It's definitely helpful.
It is. And I have to go back to what you were talking about. Oh, I watched a movie today. I didn't do anything, but you did. You relaxed. I mean, I may take, and on the weekends, I get my chores done. The garage is tidied up. I've talked the neighbor into mowing the grass, so I don't have to do it. I live in the deep South. If I get overheated, I'll faint and throw up on my own feet. Somebody else has to mow that grass. So I pay the neighbor kid to do it. But if I decide I'm taking the day off, I'm not thinking about code, I'm not doing I may not even do the dishes. For me, relaxing is turning Top Gun Maverick on, muting it because I can repeat every word in that movie, and I'm not a movie watcher, and having 2 iPads going at once. I'm reading. That's how my brain, and then all of a sudden I'm like, and I have to grab the other iPad and say, write this down, build an article about this.
Yeah.
You're not just doing nothing.
Oh, that's just a great point. I probably exaggerated that point a little bit because even knowing that you need to slow down, maybe your blood pressure's up or your mind's spinning, even having a goal of using a day to just reset, refresh is actually progress towards the L in help grow the leisure part of your life. So even that is planned. Even the leisure and the resets and the mindfulness and the relaxation, it can be intentional. Sure.
It has to be intentional. And I mentioned that I read these books, the weekend before I have you come on. So I've got 2 iPads. They're constantly going. I may be reading 2 different books in an iPad. I may be listening to, and I don't listen to anything other than business books or books about mindfulness, leadership on Audible. Or I may have Top Gun Maverick. I love that movie. I hate movies. I don't watch them. The last movie I went to was Harry Potter. So that tells you I just don't. But I have a stack of books every weekend and it's on Sunday. I've got the books and I know these guests are coming on. I've already written the review. I'm already, I've dived into the book. But this is where now it's in front of me. I'm talking with you. I need to understand this book. So I've got all kinds of things going and I'm probably not moving from the backyard or the couch, but I'm busy.
Yeah. G for growth. It's one of the 8 categories, right? And
yeah.
investing in getting better, learning. If you're not growing, you're dying. It's a simple quote I've heard someone say, and it's so true.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cough on you. I thought I was muted. Well, Bill, thank you so much for joining me today, and you are welcome to come back anytime. And this is why, because this has been a truly insightful conversation, and I know that our listeners are going to get a lot out of it. So before we say goodbye, where can people connect with you, explore the GoodLiife app, and get a copy of your book?
Yeah, no, thank you for that, Denise. So start with my website, probably the company's website, GoodLiife with two eyes, .com. Now, I'm the only Bill Zujewski in the world. So if you know how to spell Zujewski and just put in Bill Zujewski, you'll get all my video content and stuff like that. If you go to Amazon and you type in my name or What's Your Life Score, the title of my book, you'll find the Kindle and paperback version of basically it's a lot of what's in my app and software. I documented it in a book. So for those people who want to use a book at creating that system or framework or score, get the book. For people who like mobile apps, get the app, go to the website and get the app.
I say do it all.
Doing both. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we all learn differently. I don't learn by watching video or watching movies. Well, some movies, but I don't learn by sitting and watching anything. I learn by reading it, breaking it. I do a lot of breaking because autodidact. And, I have my own way of learning, but you give me a book or a stack of books, I'm all happy. No talking. Don't talk to me. I'm good.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, or listening, Audible. It just figure out how you learn and sometimes do all 3 or 4.
Yeah, for 100%.
Well, listen, everybody, thank you for joining us on this really inspiring episode of Your Partner in Success Radio with Bill Zujewski. And today we explored the power of intentional living. And I know I said write that down, intentional living and practical tools like the ZenScore and Life by Design system to help you live a balanced and purposeful life. I can't talk. I'm done for the day, apparently. So if you're ready to reduce stress, take ownership of your habits, and make meaningful progress, be sure to check out that book, What's Your Life Score, on Amazon and explore the app. So subscribe to the show, leave a review, and if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with somebody seeking a better life balance. And visit GoodLiife2eyes.com to learn more and start designing your life on your own terms. So until next time, keep moving steadily towards the life you want. I'm Denise Griffitts, and I will see you next week. Bill, thank you. This was delightful, and thank you for that lovely book.
Thank you, Denise. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Get your voice heard. If you would like to launch your own far-reaching podcast, contact Denise Griffitts at yourofficeontheweb.com and go to the podcast tab.